Hello, I'm Janice Karen, Director of Policy, Technology, and Innovation at the Massachusetts Health Data Consortium, or MHDC. Excuse me. I run our Data Governance Collaborative, also known as the DGC. We start each of our weekly meetings with a series of industry quick updates to learn about new and proposed regulations, laws, standards, industry initiatives, and other activity. Join us for this week's updates. And if you'll just stay there, we're going to go off script. And if you'll let me share for a second. Here we go. So this is what, for those of you who haven't seen one, can you see my screen? Yep. This is what a notice in the Federal Register actually looks like. And there is a new RFI that was posted yesterday with a comment date of June 20th, believe it or not, on the adoption of ICD 11. So it asks a bunch of, basically has 12 questions, and some of them are very specific and some of them are very general, but they're mostly about what type of impact, what would be the cost, what would be the proposed benefits of adopting ICD 11 instead of ICD 10. What are the coding or terminology considerations of doing this? Who should be responsible for coordinating the national implementation? What resources and support would you need? What type of guidance would you need? How would this impact your workforce and training requirements? How would you have, what type of code mapping requirements are there? She laughs. And what are the other operational impacts? So it's a fairly open set. I'm going to stop sharing. And if you'll bring the slides back up, Dave, it's a fairly open set. They're giving us essentially 2 weeks to comment, which is ridiculous. And so be aware that we will try to make a comment ourselves, but the timing will be incredibly short. And there are already other things like the USCDI Plus for Quality that are due in a very similar time frame that also came up fairly suddenly. I think they gave 30 days for that one. And so what I'm starting to call June, July of this year, the tsunami of regs. Because it's even worse than the season of letters that Dave was talking about last summer. And so we'll see what we can do, but be aware that there is starting to be very fast forward momentum. The other thing that was in that Federal Register notice was a formal meeting of NCVHS to discuss ICD 11 adoption August 3rd. So in addition to basically the idea is that they're porting out this RFI for 2 weeks. They'll take a month to review the responses, and then they have a full day of discussion of presumably some combination of reviewing the comments and some preliminary recommendations. Although given the speed at which they're moving, who knows exactly how far they're going to go in that meeting. But that's the general thing. I literally found out about this half an hour ago, which is why we're doing this in kind of this ragtag, showing you the Federal Register notice kind of way. But given the deadlines on things, I didn't want to wait until next week. So any comments or thoughts or questions about that? Aside from that, it's kind of insane to go that fast.
Yeah, I just don't know how we're going to digest everything.
Yeah. All right, well, let's go to the planned updates then. And so one of the things that caught my eye was this is just a bill. It hasn't passed anything yet, but Congressman Richie Torres from New York has proposed a bill that would require that all content generated by AI include a label indicating its source. So basically any text, audio, video, images, anything that is a piece of content that can be independently digested would be required to have a label saying, I was generated by AI. Obviously, that's not necessarily the exact label, but some label indicating that. And the thing is that this would be overseen by the FTC under the Unfair Deceptive Acts practices, which makes sense from a conceptual perspective. But we remind people that the FTC has no authority over nonprofits. And so this is a loophole that exists in any of the regulatory areas that have been given to the FTC to govern related to technology or healthcare. So don't know a ton more. It's still in the preliminary stages, but this one struck me as one that is likely to get some traction based on the current state of things. So you can find out some more about the bill. There was a pretty nice article in the first link, and then the actual bill and the ability to track its progress throughout the system at the Congress's website, and I have that bill flagged to track myself. So if there is significant movement in that, we'll probably bring it up again here. Any thoughts, comments, questions there? All right. Once. Sorry, allergies are bad today. Let's go ahead and go on to the next slide then. All right, so here's another regulatory thing that came out without a lot of warning. The FTC, I should say, there was a tiny bit of warning, but it was at the very end of May, the FTC put out a press release about this, saying it was coming, and then it came last Friday. But we missed the press release, so it sort of showed up for us. So there is a set of proposed updates to the FTC health breach notification rule. This is the rule that they put in to try to expand the authority to regulate some of the third-party health apps and other health-related things that fall under the FTC instead of under HIPAA. And some of the things that I have not had a chance to look at the actual proposal yet, but the overview talks about revising definitions to clarify when the rule applies and to whom the rule applies. Also talks about some changes to the breach notification process, both in terms of expanding the content that you're required to include in breach notifications and authorizing the expanded use of email and other electronic means for notifications. So again, I haven't had a chance to read the rule yet. They're giving us until August 8th, so they're being generous. But this will definitely be in the list of things that we will be looking at this summer. And probably, although not definitely, because we're going to have to prioritize a bit, but we'll likely be replying to. So given the fact that I don't know much more than what I said, any questions or comments or thoughts? All right, then let's move on. So I know CMS, the CMMI has announced a new alternate payment model called Making Care Primary, and it is one of they've been prioritizing, as have many different agencies and areas, access to primary care. And so this model was designed specifically to strengthen that, and particularly for smaller and safety net primary care organizations. It's being tested in 8 states, including Massachusetts. And the idea is to try to improve the access to primary care, encourage primary care organizations to enter into value-based care, and the holy grail of value-based care, improve health outcomes while reducing expenditures. So it's going to be a 10.5-year program starting next summer. The applications for participation will open this summer, And you can find more information at that press release. Any questions or comments there? All right, then let's go on. Also, more CMMI news. As we've talked about in several of the recent meetings, CMMI is increasing its focus on quality measures as part of the alternate payment models that they develop. And one of the things that they've done, in addition to, they have a new person who's specifically charged with quality measures. So they've brought a lot of that work in-house and sort of prioritized it. And they've also been trying to be more transparent and publicizing things more. So they've actually added the quality measures for 12 of their alternate payment models to the general CMS public database. And you can see, I'm not going to go through them, but here's a list of the models that so all of the quality measures that are related to those models have been added to the CMS quality measures database. There's a link to that database at the bottom of the slide. You do need to have a free account to access it, but once you do, you can see all of the quality measures that are developed and maintained by CMS. So any questions there? All right, and then I know that, just as a reminder, I had a conversation with the new quality director at CMMI, and there is some anticipation that some of the quality measures developed there will be put into wider use, even if the models they're related to won't be. So some of these measures may be appearing in other places as well. All right, let's move on. If you'll pause there, please. I hope you learned a lot from our quick updates. If you're interested in finding out more about the DGC and its other activities, email me at dgc@myhealthdata.org. That email address is also on your screen.